Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Alex King here. Today is Wednesday, February the 20th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London. Sydney, Australia is at 12 midnight. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for tuning in for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And while I am struggling to be awake this morning, Alex is having another perfect hair morning and telling me how she has a perfect hair morning.
It's
And
what we
I
call
have to say,
black girl magic.
Black girl magic. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, hey, whatever it takes. I mean, I had no idea that such magic existed, but then again, I didn't even know about
Yes,
the law of attraction 12 years ago. So, anything's
exactly.
possible, as I'm concerned. So, Kelly, pretty unfortunately, cannot join us this week. She is a life coach, of course, but her own coach has advised her to basically limit her activities this week. So, we're going to honor that, and we will miss
Okay,
her,
that's
but we
cool.
will have her join us next time. Um,
Hmm.
but that just means you and I get to have more fun like we do on Tuesdays. And yet, I have to say, yesterday afternoon was fun. When I got off the show with
Right.
you, I had this big smile on my face. So yeah, it's a good thing. And this is also a Q&A. So if you're listening to the live stream and have questions that you want us to address, we'll be happy to do that. Otherwise, we'll just do what we normally do, which is come up with the wackiest questions we can come up with. Really interesting. I mean, the one you came up with yesterday, Alex, about karma and law of attraction, I never really considered, could they be considered the same thing? And when you asked, I said,
Hmm.
huh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
well, I guess there's an overlap there. Sure, why not?
yeah, yeah.
So that was good. So we never know what kind of questions are going to come up. All we know for sure is that Alex is going to have a perfect hair day, and that's all that's important. So,
Facts.
see, you get me in a silly mood even as I'm starting the program. This is very good.
That's how you start your daily dose of happy.
Absolutely. And it works every time. It's great. So, well, other than your great hair day and the fact that you woke up 10 minutes ago, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was a little
Right.
anxious this morning, but I watched an episode of The Resident, and now I'm good.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's actually a part of your routine if you're feeling anxiety then, because that question has come up before. How do you deal with
Yes.
anxiety?
Distraction.
Distraction. And that works
Hmm.
for you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sometimes.
Well, what do you
If
do
it's a
when it doesn't?
low, if it's at like a 3, I can deal with it. But if it's a 5 or above, I got to take a medication. I got to talk to my mom. There's a whole there's a whole thing.
The routine. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So is that where Chloe comes in and tells you?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Well, that makes sense.
Hmm.
So let's see. What are we going to do with our first question? I don't see anything coming in from the live listeners yet, so we got to come up with our first one ourselves. You want to come up with the first one? You did that really well
I
yesterday.
got one.
Okay. Let's hear it then.
Okay. How do I want to word this? Okay.
I don't know. How do you want to word it?
Uh, does jinxing apply in the law of attraction?
Jinxing.
Yeah.
Whoa. Jinx. Uh, well, law of attraction applies to everything, so it does in some way.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I mean, well, the first question that comes to my mind is let's define jinxing. What is jinxing? Because I don't believe in jinxes. I've never believed in jinxes. So I don't even know how to begin to answer the question. But what is a jinx? I mean, to you, what is a jinx?
To me, it's like whenever I just lost my train of thought. Hold on. Okay, so jinxing. Okay. Uh Whenever you say something, I don't know, it's like the reverse law of attraction, I guess. You know what I mean? Like the negative, like the you know what I mean? Like the negative part of it.
So it's the law of repulsion. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah. But
Oh,
it's
okay.
like no, it's not. It's like if you don't want to say something because it might not come true. It's like a birthday wish, saying it out loud.
Okay. Well, I guess from a law of attraction perspective, my answer would be your wish is my command. I mean,
Hmm.
if you decide that that you're going to focus on something not coming true, then you're right. it's
Yeah.
not going to come true. I mean,
Hmm.
it's that simple. It depends on what side. That's what it always comes down to. What's the energy? What's the
Hmm.
thought and the feeling associated with it, right?
Yeah.
So if the vibration is one of fear about something, you can get more fear of that thing. If the
Hmm.
vibration is about excitement about something, you can get more excitement and more stuff to be excited about. And to
Hmm.
that extent, I think jinxing does apply. The real question, though, is what happens when somebody is afraid of a jinx when they're trying to get something?
Right. Mm.
And what I think happens there is they end up jinxing themselves. It becomes a
Yeah.
self-fulfilling prophecy, you know?
Right. Right. So yes, it does apply.
Yeah. Well, you just have to kind of figure it out, I guess, because we
Right.
know the law of attraction applies to everything. It's just
Hmm.
how does it actually work out with jinxing? I never really thought about jinxing. Now you got me thinking about baseball because I'm a baseball fan, and baseball
Right.
players are
Yes.
notoriously superstitious. I mean, they just follow some of the most amazing habitual patterns. Some of them are absolutely disgusting, but they'll just if they got a hit with a particular pair of socks on, they won't take the socks off for a month. And they'll
Right.
they change your damn socks. No, no,
Hmm.
no! I keep getting hits with these socks. You know.
All right,
I
so
mean,
let's extend it. Does superstition apply?
well, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you believe it's true, then it's true. And
Hmm.
if you believe that it's not true, then it's not true. So either way, you're
Interesting.
right.
Yeah. Either way, you're right.
I mean, the same thing could be said about, uh, I'm trying to think what the generic,
Ooh,
oh,
excuse me.
um, there's a generic term for what I'm trying to think of. And I always think of it in just sort of under the realm of superstition, but like curses and,
Hmm.
you know, certain kinds of witches' spells, that kind of thing.
Bad juju.
Not bad juju, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all about the mental state of the person who is believing or not believing in it.
Hmm.
And inevitably, it plays out exactly the way they believe or don't believe,
Right, right.
which is really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think, I was noticing that about, what was it? Somebody had talked about, what was it? Just, just yesterday. I think it was something that Louise was watching on television. And I was doing something in the kitchen. I
Hmm.
can't remember what it was, but somebody was giving an explanation. Oh, I know what it was. It was a comedian, a female comedian who was on the Henry Louis Gates show, Finding Your Roots.
Hmm.
This comedian had been through all this stuff in her life, and she had a double mastectomy,
Hmm.
and she had before she had the operation, she had very small breasts, and so
Hmm.
she decided to turn her misfortune into a comedy routine, and described how her breasts got so tired of her talking about her very, very small breasts all these years. They said, I know, let's have a conspiracy. We're going to make her really sick and kill her. And I'm thinking
Wow.
about it, she doesn't understand how well she's explaining law of attraction.
Yeah.
She thought she was just telling a joke, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
That kind of thing happens on a regular basis. It's amazing
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
life how often people will be expressing law of attraction without realizing they're expressing it, and probably without even being aware of what it is.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to my friend last night, and this is the friend of mine, my B fam, that thinks that we're a cult. And
Right?
he said to me, I forget what we were talking about or how it came up, but he said, "Yep, that's the law of attraction." I was like, "Yay!"
Oh my God. Did you take his temperature? Is he okay? Does he have the
I
flu?
I was like, "I'm not gonna push it. I'm not gonna jinx it."
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Well,
I
that's
was just
funny.
like, I was like, "Yes, that's exactly what it is. Good for you."
Steve Rawl and I were talking about it yesterday morning. How
Hmm.
in the UK and here in the US we have a kind of a popular saying that bad things happen in threes, and
Hmm.
that they happen primarily because people believe that bad things happen in threes. And so
Yep.
until the third one happens. They believe, yep, bad things are going to happen because bad things happen in threes. Then the third thing happens and says, oh, good, we're done with the three, so no more bad things are going to happen. So no more bad things happen. It's amazing.
In my family, it's deaths always happen in threes.
Death.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
mhm.
So we're like, okay, who's next? So at every funeral, we're like, what two are next? Because me and my mom will be like picking people out. It's terrible.
The macabre world of Alex King.
I don't do funerals well, let me tell you. So I get very I get very inappropriate. I don't know what to do with myself.
Have you ever thought of being the next Stephen King and writing some novels about it? I mean, that could probably sell really
No,
well.
Stephen King scares me. I can't handle him. Mm-mm,
He
nope.
was a little strange in the thought process. Yeah, I've
A
never
little
been a fan
bit.
of horror. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I know a lot of people are, so that's what I thought of it. But,
I mean, I can deal with some horror, but like I'm a big fan of the Insidious series. But Stephen King, he's on another level. I think it's because I know I'm in his brain when I'm watching it, and I'm like, it just makes it even scarier.
I think there's a certain maliciousness you have to have in order to be a horror writer. You just have
Right.
a malicious side to you, like,
Yeah, because
oh,
you're like, I'm gonna scare the crap out of people.
yeah, like, ugh. And then there are the people who are the fans of it, and I understand that they're finding some joy in it. They're finding some
Hmm.
excitement, some fun out of it. I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
found fun in it. I mean, the story I like to tell about my one and only experience with a horror movie was back in like 1980 or something like that, when the first Alien film came out.
Okay, those weren't even real horror movies, though.
Well, they were for the time. I mean, Jaws took everything to a new level, but up until that point, that was a horror movie.
So
And
sad to see how different the times are. Because
oh,
if I
it's
watch
huge.
Jaws now, I'm like, okay, I can see the fan in the back. I
Oh God,
can't.
yes. But that's the beauty of these movies. I mean, I'm not a fan of horror movies per se, but any kind of movies like that, when the movie gets your attention, you don't notice all the stuff that's in the
Yeah,
back.
that's
You
true.
just don't even see that. You suspend your disbelief so much
Right.
that there could be a guy walking around in the background and you just ignore him. You just don't pay any attention to him at all. But no, I mean that was my one time to see something classified as a horror film, and
Hmm.
it got this was the movie where the alien eats his way out of the guy's stomach, and so it's a very
Yeah,
gory scene, right? And
right.
and everybody knew that scene was coming, and you could
Hmm.
sense the tension in the theater, and the
Hmm.
scene comes, and it doesn't even look like ketchup. It looks so fake, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there trying to not laugh out loud because I didn't want to ruin the movie for the people who like being there. Uh,
Right.
I was just there because my friend had begged me to go with him. My
Mm.
friend begged me to go with him, grabbed me by the arm and said, "Come on, we're leaving. I can't stand this." He was so
Wow.
overcome by the reality of the film.
Yeah.
I've never liked the whole genre, but that was my one experience with it.
I like like I said, the Insidious series, and I like the Saw series because the Saw series I like on a psychological level because I'm
Mm.
sitting here thinking while I'm watching this, I'm like, the writers who are writing this, what are they thinking when they're processing, how do we kill this person? What creative way can we kill this person? Like that's literally all they're doing the whole entire movie.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's interesting to me, and I'm like, okay, I gotta see how they kill these seven people, so I gotta watch this one.
I don't get that. I mean, I hear what you're saying. The words actually make sense. They're complete
Right.
sense. But I don't get it. I just don't understand.
Now Insidious, it's just scary, so I don't know. I don't even know why I like it because I don't like to be scared, but
I don't like to be
it's
scared either. And yet there are people who apparently love it. I
yeah,
mean,
but
I
it's
know, when I was growing up, there were a number of girls who liked to scream. And I'm pretty sure that's why they went to the movies. It was an opportunity to scream,
mm,
right?
lame.
Maybe maybe by today's standards they were lame, but they still screamed anyway. Hey, they screamed for the Beatles. Why couldn't they scream for a horror film? So,
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it was
I don't
just,
know
it
who
was,
likes to scream, but okay.
I'll tell you, there were quite a few of them who did. So, I don't know. that I think there is an inherent things in some people that they just want to experience that without the actual consequences of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
They just want to feel it, and
Yeah.
I've never really wanted to, but I know I can just see it. You can tell on there. Look at the faces of people who are watching a horror film,
Yeah.
right? Yes,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? They're just waiting for it.
Yeah.
I know it's coming. I know it's coming. Well, that's why Jaws was so successful because there were
Hmm.
a lot of stretches in the movie where nothing happens, but they're
Right.
building it up and they're building it up and they're
Right.
building it up, and then finally you get to a point where you feel like, oh, well, I guess there's nothing there, and then the attack comes. That. So
Oh
people get
God.
beyond it. That's actually one of the hardest things about the law of attraction. The fact
Hmm.
that different people, different folks have different strokes, as the saying goes. Different
Yes.
people have
Yes.
different interests.
Hmm.
And what is uninteresting to one person may be very interesting to another.
Hmm.
And what is interesting to one person may actually be disgusting to another.
Hmm.
And that's hard. That's
That's
hard
so
to
true.
recognize. That's hard to deal with. You know,
Hmm.
we have names and terms to describe that. Sadistic.
Hmm.
There's one, right?
Yeah.
People who like to hurt other people. I mean,
Yeah. Mike's got a
name
little bit of that. He's got issues. He likes to pop my
he does.
pimples.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm like, why? And then he's like, will you pop mine? I was like, absolutely not. I will not pop your pimples. I'm so sorry, sir. But he's
okay.
one of those people that like they have those videos what they call Dr. Pimple Popper, and they actually you get to watch different doctors pop like these insane
I
pimples.
saw. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, why are you sending me these videos? Like, I don't like it. Disgusting. Ugh.
See, now there's an example of different reactions because my reaction is, why would I want to watch that? Your
That's my
reaction is,
reaction
why are you
too,
sending
but
it?
it's also
Oh yeah,
disgusting.
but your primary one was, why did you send that to me? Different thought process.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, you made a crack about Disney films, and it was well deserved yesterday. But I'll tell you, more of the time, I'll take a Disney film. I mean, given the
Facts.
choice, they're usually and you can
Yep.
almost always count on a happy ending, and I like happy endings. So
Yep, that's true.
yeah.
Speaking of Disney films, they're doing all the redoing everything live action this year.
Oh really?
Yeah, so Dumbo's coming out, Lion
No
King's coming
kidding.
out, Aladdin's coming out. I forget what else. Something else. I want to say Jungle Book, and then there's one more, but I can't remember what it is.
And they're doing them all live action. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They already showed the trailer of Aladdin, and Will Smith is playing the genie, and no one is happy about it.
Well, how could they possibly be happy? You can't top Robin Williams. That's not possible.
Exactly.
That's just,
Exactly.
I mean, that's not even fair. I give Will
No.
credit for even trying to do it. I mean, that's
Right.
on a lot,
It's
you
like
know?
I like his enthusiasm, but it's you're not Robin Williams. It's not going to happen.
It's not, it's just, I mean, he's a good guy. He deserves better
It
than
was
that.
it was iconic. You can't
Yeah,
top that.
yeah.
Even though it's live action. I mean, it looks really cool and he looks really cool as a giant blue genie, but no, it's not the same.
Not the same. No.
Not the same. But
That actually,
Dumbo looks adorable.
oh, really?
Yes, it's a little live action elephant with giant ears and he won't fly without his feather. It's so cute. Oh my God.
How big do they have the ears? I remember in the cartoon, the ears were
Oh,
about as
they're
big as
cute.
the body.
They're the size of him.
They are, okay.
Yeah.
So they kept the proportions the same.
Yes, they did. Well, you
Okay.
have to. The aerodynamics just wouldn't work out. I mean,
Now talk about suspension of disbelief right there. You just did it. You convinced yourself that the ears are big enough, this big round animal that weighs probably about 500 pounds can get off the ground. That's pretty good.
well, it's not a full-size elephant. He's a baby elephant. I don't think they showed him growing up in this movie. So it works in my mind.
It does. It works great.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
And the
remember what the
feather is
movie
what
was.
makes him fly, not his ears.
The what?
The feather is what makes him fly, not his
Oh, the
ears.
feather.
It's law of attraction because it's his belief in the feather that makes him fly.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I may have to see this. Okay.
Yes. I think you should. I think everyone should.
Very good. Hey,
Hmm.
way to go, Disney.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
Hmm.
So this all came off of one question about jinxing. I have to say, I'm very impressed. We just did a 20-minute riff on jinxing that turned into Dumbo with his flying feather. Like, whoa.
Yep. You never know what you're gonna get when I'm on here.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's my turn to come up with a question. Let's see if mine can last more than 60 seconds. Um, okay. Well, I go back to basics when I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to go back
Okay.
to with you. The basic
Okay.
is you are a fan of premieres of television shows and television series
Yes.
and giving people the heads up, the skinny on
Boil it all.
what the spoilers are, right? So my question to you is, why do you like that so much?
I don't know. I like to know what's coming. And I know there are other people out there like me. So that's who I'm doing it for.
But you don't know why you like it.
I have no idea why I like it. Like when at the end of the episode of the show, and they have the preview of the next episode, my mom
Mm.
completely skips over it. She just turns the TV off. Like I'm just like, and I'm like, you don't want to know what's gonna happen next week? How do you live? I like the suspense of knowing what's coming. I don't know. It's weird.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, the good news is you don't have to know. That
You
is the
don't
good
have to
news.
know.
You only have to like it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And in this
Yeah.
case, it's knowing what's coming up in, the next episode or the next series or
Hmm.
whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I never really was one who was terribly interested in what was coming up next. I mean, if I saw a spoiler, it didn't spoil it for me. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
why did you tell me that? Neither one
Yeah.
was interesting.
See, it doesn't spoil it for me. That's another thing. It
Mm,
doesn't ruin it for me. I'm still gonna watch it.
Okay, well that I can appreciate because I know what that feels like.
Hmm.
Um, to me, and I guess this is something that Louise and I are similar about because, well, she's like you. She wants to know what's coming up next, so she's
Hmm.
constantly curious about that kind of thing. But when it comes to actually watching some kind of performance, some kind of a movie, theater, or a television show or whatever,
Hmm.
um, we just like watching the interaction of the characters.
Hmm.
And if
Hmm.
the characters are believable and they're pursuing some sort of a plot line that is not totally revolting and actually has perhaps some interest to it, then it's fun. And I don't really care if I know what's going to happen. I mean, we have probably, like most people, we have a collection of DVDs, and there's probably at least a dozen of them we've seen 10 times each.
Hmm.
Each of those, after the first time, the other 9 times, we always knew what was coming up next.
Right. Right.
It didn't spoil seeing it because the
Yeah.
performances were so good. They're so much
Hmm.
fun to watch.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
that's what works for me. But I can appreciate why it is some people wouldn't want to know because that is a fun part about storytelling is not knowing what's going to happen next. That's probably why horror film people like to watch their horror films.
Hmm. Hmm.
Me, it's never been that important, but to each his own.
See, I like to guess, and I like to know that I'm right, because I'm usually am. So
Well,
I like
okay.
that. That's another part of it. So I like to say, oh, I know. Oh, she's sleeping with her. I know it.
Sometimes I like to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, well, when it comes too easily, that's when we say it's too predictable.
Yeah, I don't like when it's too easy. I like when it's complicated, but I still get it right. And I'm like, I feel like some sort of accomplishment when that happens.
Hmm hmm I can appreciate that too, because
Hmm.
what's the most recent? Well, the most recent example I can think of was when the Downton Abbey series concluded.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
didn't really watch the first 3 seasons. The last 3 seasons, I started to pay attention because they weren't as dysfunctional as the first 3 seasons. But Louise watched the whole thing from start to finish, and we have the entire collection, so she goes through it periodically in
Uh-huh.
season one again. But at the very last episode, we were kind of speculating what was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And we both speculated that Barrow, the under butler, was going to become the butler, but we weren't sure how it was going to happen. We
Uh-huh.
figured that somehow Lady Mary was going to be involved because she was an advocate of his.
Hmm.
We weren't sure how it happened, and sure enough, he becomes the butler because Carson has this debilitating spasm thing going on. So
Oh.
he can't continue to be a butler anymore. And then Barrow shows up at the New Year's Eve celebration and, as a guest and
Mm-hmm.
sees Carson going through his terrible stuff and says, "I'll be glad to help out," and gets the job. So,
Ah.
so it did work out for him, which is kind of a weird thing because Barrow is not a happy character. He's not. He was never considered like one of the characters you were rooting for. He was one of the
Okay.
characters you rooted against because he
Mm-hmm.
was really mean-spirited. And the
Okay.
reason he was mean-spirited is he was gay in a time when it was completely unacceptable to be
Oh,
gay.
that guy. Okay, now I know who you're talking about. Because
Yeah,
I've only seen a couple episodes.
so he was like always very spiteful because he felt like society, life just didn't treat him well, and so he treated other
Yeah,
people.
because being gay back then was just
Oh
not a
God,
thing.
yeah. It also made him one of the best characters, though. He had more three-dimensionality to him than
Yeah,
almost anything there. I mean, he had.
he definitely did.
He also played a wonderful role in the. They did a what they called a Christmas card that they did a couple of three times between series, and
Okay.
it was for the purpose of raising money for a British charity. I don't remember which charity it was, but
Mm.
the actors got together and they acted out a version of A Christmas Carol,
Oh,
but it was with um, uh, what's his name? Hugh Bonneville. I can't remember what the character's name is. Um, oh, geez, the Earl of Grantham, whatever his name is, Robert. It's with him
hmm.
wondering why he was even there, and saying, "Well, I should never have been born."
So,
He's also doing "It's a Wonderful Life." It's like
right.
yeah, okay. And in the course of doing that, he has to be replaced by another Earl of Grantham, who gets played by George Clooney.
What is happening?
And of course, he's playing the Earl of Grantham, who's a very stick up the butt kind of person, saying, "Well, this can't possibly be happening. This can't possibly be happening. What's he doing? Why is he making love to my wife? All this other stuff.
Yeah.
How can my daughter still be here? And why doesn't anybody notice this?" And then they pan over to the writer Julian Fellows. He goes over to Fellows and says, "This can't be happening. Why did you allow this to happen?" And Fellows says, "Nobody cares. Don't worry about it."
That's
But
funny.
one of the best parts of this whole little thing they did, it was really hysterical, was
Hmm.
you see these two shoes hiding behind a curtain. And George Clooney goes over and pulls the curtain aside, and there's Barrow standing there.
Uh-huh.
And Clooney says to him, "Have you been listening in?" And Barrow says, "Yes, sir, I have." And
Uh-huh.
he says, "Well, that's no way for an underbutler to behave." And Mary says, "Oh, well, it is. Take a look at his contract. You'll see that is part of his contract. His job is to go spy on people upstairs."
They
He looks at
break
the
the fourth
contract and he
wall.
says,
I love it. I love it.
"Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm sorry about that, Barrow. Carry on." Pulls the curtain closed.
I love when shows break the fourth wall. It cracks me up.
Yep. Yep. So good stuff there.
Yeah.
So as usual, we
True.
are we are breaking boundaries here in terms of what we talk about in LOA today, but
Hmm.
it's just getting us to laugh, and that's really the most important thing.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So what do we do next for a question? What's our next topic to
Well, have you
address?
looked at the screen?
It's quiet. And we've
We'll
got
wake
people
up everybody.
they're just sitting there very quietly.
Where's
So
Nasha and Jeffrey? Where are they?
they haven't checked in. They haven't
Where's
checked in.
Dee Dee?
I haven't seen Dee Dee in a while, actually.
Ooh, I don't like that.
I'll have to send her a message, see if she's okay.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Soretta is here. Siraj checked in too. But yes, some of the regulars aren't here. But that's
Mm,
okay. We come up with our own questions.
yes.
Yeah. Let's see. What do we come up with the next question?
Mm.
What's a good one? All right. Let's see. Well, when I don't know what the question is, I just reach inside and start talking and see what comes out. So, with that
That's
thought
when
in
the best
mind,
ones come.
you never know what's going to come out when you do that.
Yeah.
Um, what is the best way to deal with sickness from the perspective of law of attraction?
Mm. I guess paint a vignette of yourself being well. Remember the good times when you had both nostrils.
when you had both nostrils. Yeah, yeah.
Remember that feeling of breathing freely and not having a fever and not coughing every 5 seconds. Oh, the good old days.
Never mind that it was only 48 hours ago.
Right. Exactly.
Oh. No, you're right though. It's exactly what you have to do. And
Yeah.
that's what made the difference for me. I know people who have been suffering from the flus that are going around who have
Yeah,
been
this super
suffering
flu
with
is no
them.
joke.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we mentioned Bill G and his wife Nina. She's in the hospital because of suspected pneumonia coming out of
Right.
things, and that's pretty
Hmm.
scary stuff. But there are a lot of people who are finding that not only do they get sick, but they get the recurrence of it. They think they're over it, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden they're roaring back and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Oh boy. So that's why I do really think it makes a big difference to do exactly what you said.
Hmm.
To
Yeah.
focus on what does it feel like to feel good, and not easy
Yeah,
to
right.
do. Not easy to do. It takes a little determination, a little focus, a little effort, but well worth it. That's for sure
Yeah. Hmm.
because it does work. I mean, this past weekend I was really sick. Louise and I both got sick at the same time. That was a first, by the way. We had never been sick at the same time before.
Oh, wow.
But we both got sick at the same time, and I'm pretty sure we got it at the supermarket because we went to the supermarket, we came back, and boom, all of a sudden we're not feeling good.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a little hint there.
There's germs everywhere.
Yeah, got the wrong shopping cart, didn't, Lysol it or something. But it
Don't they
was,
have those Lysol wipes for you
yeah, the
at
little
the?
Purells, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think we actually used one, but yeah, they do have those.
I don't think I use them either now that I think about it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a cool concept. Anyway, back to what I was doing.
right. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, when it hits, and it really hit us pretty hard. We were both
Hmm.
knocked down. We were just lying around in bed on the couch, whatever. Um, and very quickly, I remembered what you have to do. Started
Yeah.
focusing on it, and fell asleep.
Hmm.
And it's an example of how my first try didn't work.
Yeah. Or did it? Because your body
No,
needed the sleep to get better.
well, it did need to sleep, but then I woke up an hour later and it felt worse.
Oh, well.
Because it's middle of the day, and I've never been much of a napper during the day anyway. So now I woke up,
Hmm.
oh God, I feel terrible.
Yeah.
So I had to go through it a few times
Hmm.
in order to try to get myself into that quote good feeling place when I wasn't feeling good.
Right, right.
And I actually didn't succeed on Saturday. I did start to succeed a little bit on Sunday.
Hmm.
But evidently not enough because Monday I was still not feeling good.
Hmm.
Felt actually a little bit better on Monday, but not a whole lot more. But
Yeah.
Monday, for whatever reason, I was able to focus better. And when I woke up Tuesday morning, I wasn't fit. I wasn't like, jumping up and going out and running 5 miles or something like that.
But you weren't dead either.
Yeah, I was able to function. I was up for like 4 straight hours without collapsing. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it happened because I was able to visualize it. I was able to focus and just stay in that good feeling place for, a few minutes at a time and,
Hmm.
and maintain the focus on it. So I agree with you. It makes all the difference in the world to do
Well,
that.
there's something to be said for it because I didn't do any of that, and I was down for like a week and some change, whereas you were
Mm,
only down for like 3 days.
yeah.
So there you go.
And that's it. A lot of people do get knocked down for long, long periods of time.
Hmm.
And I don't think they understand how to do it. But yeah, it really does work.
Hmm.
Ever since I've started to apply it more and more and more in my life, it has been very, very consistent.
Hmm.
First of all, this is the first time I've gotten sick in at least a couple of years, at
Yeah.
least.
Well, that's the other thing. I hadn't been sick in, whew, I don't even know. So
Mm.
I didn't know how to deal.
Yeah, right.
It
Exactly.
was like, what do I do now?
But to me, that was also a good sign because it meant that I had been working more and more on focusing on what I want, on
Hmm.
feeling the ways that I want, and getting it. Um,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, being healthy was easy for me.
Hmm.
Probably because they talk about how if you have a momentum going, the momentum
Yeah.
is easier to follow than trying to start a new one.
Yeah.
So that probably played a major role in it. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's always been pretty easy for me. And the more that I practiced on those rare occasions, I mean, last year I had the ligament issue. That was pretty unusual for me.
Right, right.
And it did take quite a bit of effort to, kind of turn it around. But that momentum helped. That momentum helped me to believe I could find that feeling. I could
Mm-hmm.
find that experience in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it made a big difference. So, but yeah, the stuff works. There's no doubt about it. It definitely works. It's just
Yeah.
you need to apply it. Not that I'm an expert, not that I've learned to apply it in all areas of my life. I'm still working on certain areas, still working on getting better, but
But you're an expert what works for you, so that's also valuable.
more and more every day. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in the process of being an expert on what works for me, I become an expert at how to get better at
Yes.
what works for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the increments. It's the step by step. Every
Yeah.
day, a little bit better, right?
Baby steps. Yep.
Baby steps. Yeah. Through the daily exercises. I mean, I woke up today not feeling as well as I'd hoped that I would, because I
Mm-hmm.
figured after I had this big breakthrough the last day or so, I figured, okay, tonight is good.
Right.
Good night's sleep. Didn't get the good night's sleep. I was
Yeah.
awake from like 11 o'clock to like 4. It was not very good at all. But I did fall asleep for a couple hours and woke up with enough sleep that okay, I can function. I can come do the show with you and
Yeah.
whatnot. But I still got up and did my mirror exercises,
Oh,
even
that's
though
good.
I looked in the mirror and I almost didn't recognize myself, but I did them.
Mm-hmm.
I did them. I looked pretty haggard, but I did them anyway, and tried to convince myself that I looked better than I felt, and
Yep.
that remind myself I still love me. I'm still okay. I'm still a good person. Good things are happening. All that kind of thing. And even though I wasn't feeling tip-top form today, it helped.
Mm-hmm.
Helped a
Yeah.
little bit. And that's all it
Mm-hmm.
has to do is help just a little bit, right?
I stole a mirror exercise from Kelly.
Oh, really? What'd you do?
Yeah, remember when she said that we were talking about relationships before Valentine's Day, and
Yeah.
she said that she would I don't know if she did what I did, but she would always do her mirror exercises and say, we are in a loving and lasting relationship. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I'm gonna start doing that. So I'll take the picture, a good picture that we have of us, and I'll look at it and I'll say we are in a loving and lasting relationship, especially when he's trying me. I was like, I have to. I'm like, oh, let me do this again. Let me focus.
And is it helping?
I don't know. I mean, everything's going great so far, so I'll say yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, it's not just what results you're seeing, although that's certainly a good indicator. It's also
yeah.
how it helps you feel. Do you feel better when you do them?
I mean, I felt great anyway, so it's kind of a safety net.
You mean like superstition?
A little bit. A backup plan.
A backup plan. Oh, jeez. Let me give you a little piece of advice. Don't tell Mike that bit.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I don't even know how he feels about law of attraction. I mean, he Googled it when I told him I do a podcast on it, and he was like, I mean, he's like, it sounds legit.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. That's a good
Yeah,
response.
that's better than other people's responses.
I mean, when I first heard about it, my response would have been like along the lines of, "Oh, yeah, that kind of stuff. Okay."
Yeah,
Just like,
yeah,
very dismissive.
yeah. I know what you mean.
Mhm. Yeah, like being polite, but yeah, sure, right. Yeah, you really
Yeah.
should learn some, reality. My sister said it best. I've told this one before. My sister
Hmm.
said it best when we had a conversation sometime in the last 6 months or so, in
Hmm.
which we were talking about stuff related to law of attraction and in relation to what's going on in her life. And I said to
Hmm.
her, you've been telling me about stuff like this since long before the term law of attraction became popular. Can you
Right.
imagine what you would have felt like if I had talked like this 20 years ago? And her
Hmm.
response was, I would have fallen out of my chair if you had talked like this 20 years ago. And
Oh
it's
my God.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. I
Hmm.
mean, I didn't believe any of it. But
Yeah.
so no, that's a very positive response for him to say. That makes sense. That's good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Okay, you got to come up with the next one because my brain is fried right now.
Okay. I saw a post on our group page,
No.
and it was, I don't know I can't quote it exactly, but I'm going to try to get the gist of it. But it said, my boyfriend just broke up with me. I want to say there was infidelity of some sort. My boyfriend just broke up with me, and how do I get over it when I really just want to hate him?
Yes, there are lots of posts like that. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fairly common kind. The thing
Mm-hmm.
that I always notice, and it's often the basis for how I respond if I'm going to respond to one of those,
Mm-hmm.
is to notice all of the different ways that the person who posts it says what's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They never talk about what's going right.
Yeah.
Everything that they write is about all the things that are going wrong.
Right. Right.
So, like one of the ways, this is a fairly common one for me. One of the ways I'll respond is, okay, you've made it really clear what's going wrong. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what's going right?
Right.
Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah.
And I'll usually get some kind of pushback. And then after the pushback, I'll say, okay, but what's going right?
Yeah.
Just,
Right. You didn't answer my question.
you didn't answer the question, right? Because it's funny when we get into those kinds of spaces, we really do have blinders on when it
Yeah.
comes to what is going right.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody, if I've asked that person, what's going right, and he or she indicates, well, yeah, you're right. I can't really think of what's going right, but you're right. I should probably be focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say something like, well, do you have a place to live?
Right.
Do you have food? Do you have clothing? Do you have anybody who
Make your
loves you?
grateful list.
Yeah, exactly. I really got shot down on that one recently. Most of the time that
Ooh.
goes well. Most of the time people accept that, but there was one post, I can't remember what it was, something along this very line. And I
Mm-hmm.
posted something about being grateful for, count your blessings, that kind of thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
got lambasted for, well, yeah, good luck with that one. That's not going to work. By not just
Ooh.
the original poster, but other people saying that my response was inappropriate.
Do they know what group they're in?
Well, it wasn't this group, another law of attraction group, but it wasn't this group.
Oh, okay, because I was like, they may be lost.
I think loss is probably a good description of what they
They
were
may
going
have
through.
taken a wrong turn and it fit
Yeah,
the Facebook entrance.
but they really went overboard on it, and I thought it was an interesting reaction.
Yeah.
The thing about anybody who posts something like that, and some of the people who comment on things like that with that same perspective, because clearly these people
Mm-hmm.
who are commenting had that same perspective,
Mm-hmm.
is that it really shows how strongly people will adhere to their own uncomfortable comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Deep. I like that.
It's something that Joel was the first one who really zeroed me in on the idea of comfort zones
Mm-hmm.
and helped me to recognize how often a so-called comfort zone isn't comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and how virulently people will fight for them,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And it really is true. I mean, depending on how stuck you are, so to speak, you can really fight pretty hard for your comfort
Well, you
zone.
can't forget also that victim card that they earn so
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although I've kind of learned you don't use victim. I have used the word victim before, and boy, that really ends conversations really quickly.
Well, that's because people think it's like they underestimate the word victim. Like they think
No.
something tragic had to happen. You know what I mean? Like someone had to have died to be a victim, of some
Mm.
of murder or whatever. But it's like no, you can be a victim of anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've just learned that it's one of those things. It's like what Linus used to say in Peanuts. There are three things you should never talk about in polite conversation: religion, politics, and the Great Pumpkin. And he was right. I mean, you just don't do
Not the Great Pumpkin.
it's one of those things that you never ever talk about because you just get yourself in trouble every time you do it. So I've learned not to use the word victim, to just stay away from it because
Yeah, they
don't
taught
react.
that. They taught that to us in hair school. They said that you're basically a therapist for everyone in your chair. But the things you don't get mixed up in is politics, religion, and sexual orientation.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see
Yeah.
that. Yep.
Hmm.
Or really any of the discriminatory classes.
Right.
You
Yeah.
definitely stay away from all of them, right?
Yep. Just stay away from
Everyone.
all of
I mean, there's complete rabbit holes. They go absolutely nowhere.
them.
Yeah, so I think victimhood kind of falls into that category,
Yeah.
which is kind of sad. But
Hmm.
the hand comfort zones seems to be a safe way to talk about it. It's the same topic,
It's the same thing. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
It's the
Hmm.
same topic. It's just it's more polite conversation. No, it's
I think
conversation.
people, I was going to say, I think people like to just sit in their comfort zone for a second. Yeah, I mean, they feel like they need to sit there for a second and just be like, listen, I don't feel like being spiritual right now. I feel like uh they need to burn in hell for a second. You know what I mean? You just have to have that brief moment, then you cancel it and get over it, and then you work on yourself.
And if that's all it is, then that's fine.
Yeah,
But I
but
don't get the
the
impression
people
that
that are
they're
wallowing in it and
yeah.
then whining about it on Facebook
Well,
don't.
that's it. I don't get the impression that most people who are posting like that are only dipping their toe in for a moment. I get the
Right.
impression they've been living there for a while and they don't have any
Yeah.
intention of leaving.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like they just want someone to agree with them. They don't want to hear the I'm not going to say the correct answer because everybody's answer is different, but they don't want to hear a real answer. They just want someone to sit and wallow with them.
And there's an interesting phrase that goes along with it. The phrase is,
Misery
please
loves
send me good
company.
energy. No, well, that is
Oh.
exactly. Yeah. No, it's please send me good vibes or good energy. Please send me positive,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it really strikes me every time that I don't know if they understand what it is they're actually saying. What they're actually
Yeah.
saying is, I cannot generate any positive feelings, so I need you to do it for me.
Yeah.
And wow, what a powerless position that is. That's like saying,
Exactly.
totally powerless before everything in life. I'm done.
Mhm.
Take advantage of me.
And then you're also inviting people to send bad vibes to you. So that's not good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a form of addiction.
Mhm. Mhm.
My happiness can only exist if you make me happy.
Mhm.
Oh
People
God.
do this on my there's a supernatural page that I'm on, and they actually had to create a rule around it. People
Really?
used to go, "Oh, I'm having a bad day. My boyfriend just broke up with me, or what have you had happened. And please send me pictures of Sam and Dean." And people will actually go into their phones and start sending pictures. And I'm like, I get what you're trying to do, but this is really annoying because everybody's doing it. So
Mm.
they're like, listen, we have a separate album of pictures that you can put them there and you can take whatever you want. Please do not go asking for pictures. It's That's what Google's for. Like, there's no need for all this nonsense. So I feel that that's the same way with the send good vibes situation.
To me, it is the V word, the one I don't
Yeah,
share.
yeah,
I want to be a V. I want to
yeah.
be that V person.
Hmm. They just want someone to go, oh, what's wrong? Are you okay?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
oh.
exactly. Like, please stroke my ego for 5 seconds
Yes,
or longer.
or for the next week, or
You're right.
that I think more than anything else is what convinced me of the power of the law of attraction.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I've seen so many people in life who set themselves up
Yep.
regularly. I know you have
Yeah.
too. And
Hmm.
it's just an ongoing thing, and it perplexed me for years.
Hmm.
Why would people do that? I never
Yeah,
understood personality, and when I was
I
young,
stopped responding
yeah, I hear you. I
because
hear you.
it's too much.
But when I was in my 20s and 30s, I knew about addiction in
Hmm.
general. I didn't have any
Hmm.
experience with it. Well, I had a little experience. I had one friend I can think of who was definitely addicted to drugs, but
Hmm.
other than that, I didn't have a whole lot of experience with it. But I knew
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
and I pretty early on made the connection between addictive behavior and the
Hmm.
actual addiction. I could see addictive personalities. I could understand that that is an addictive personality. What I did not understand is why they would want to be an addictive personality.
Right, right.
And when I asked that question, the answer always came back, well, they didn't choose to be that way. And it
Hmm.
always perplexed me. I didn't understand the answer, and so I figured, well, no, maybe they know better than I do, so I would just shut up. When
Right.
law of attraction came along and the
Hmm.
concept of what you focus on is what you get more of, that's what I thought of. All
Yeah.
these people that I knew who had basically played the same card over and over and over again and kept getting the same results over and over and over again.
Hmm.
I actually got that faster than my own stuff going on. I could see it
Yeah.
so much easier.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Same thing? Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that helped me a lot in that sense. So thank you, all you addictive personalities. You made it really clear. Oh, yes. Crazy stuff. Let's see. We've got about 10 minutes left. We got time for one more question. So let's see. What should we do for a question to address? A topic. Well, you mentioned Facebook, and you mentioned
Hmm.
that you post frequently on Facebook, and the frequent kinds of questions that we see on there.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm hoping maybe you can help me because I'm about to do my test. I was supposed to do this a week ago, and then I got sick. But
Hmm.
no, I'm about to do my test promotion to see how much of a market there is in my local area for doing a workshop on law of attraction and relationships.
Hmm.
And some of the questions that I've talked about addressing, I'm focusing specifically on reaching out to people who are currently single, not people
Hmm.
who are married or in existing relationships, but people who are either
Right.
looking for a relationship or they're in a tenuous relationship that's not going anywhere, or that kind of
Hmm.
thing.
That
So
sounds like the right market.
that's the target market, and the questions that I'm addressing are first and foremost, how do I get my ex back? So that's one of the first things I'm mentioning. This is a question
Yes.
that was answered at the workshop.
Hmm.
Second question is, how do you find somebody who you can count on for a long-term relationship?
Mm. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's actually at the root of the whole thing, I think. How do you,
Yeah, it is.
but what other questions can you think of that would be good to be questions to be answered by such a workshop that I can somehow tie into the marketing? What are the primary relationship questions that singles have today? And
Hmm.
it's not an easy question because I know it because I spend a lot of time focusing on it.
Yeah, it's not an easy question.
It's not, no. I mean, we actually talked about it one time, you and Carlos and I, when we talked about
Yes.
dating. That was a big one, and it was an
Hmm.
eye opener for me because
Yeah.
I never had to deal with dating apps, first of all, but second of all, I didn't realize how big they were and how much they'd influenced the entire dating scene.
Yep.
The point where when I said to you, well, how do you actually get to know somebody when you're trying to meet them through a dating app? You said, exactly, that's the problem. And I said, oh, okay. So what do
That's
people
a
do?
question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. So that's probably enough. I got three. I mean, I wanted to have four. If I can get one more
Hmm.
question, what I want to do is I want to flash them up on screen. How do you get your ex
Right.
back? Um, how do you connect with somebody when you're trying to connect on a dating app? How do you find out who they really
Hmm.
are? So
Yeah.
I want to flash these questions on screen. So I
Hmm.
need one more question. I think the last one is going to be, how do you find someone you can count on to really live the rest of your life happily with?
Hmm.
Something along that line. I don't know how I'll phrase that, but it's going to be something like
Yeah.
that. But I need one more question, one more key question for singles today. Like, what's different?
I think a lot of times what I see is people asking, how do you get someone you like to like you back?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Hmm.
I got to write that one down. How do you get someone you like you back? That's a great one. It's perfect for LOA too.
Yeah. Hmm.
Ooh, I like that one.
You're welcome.
Very good. Thank you. You just helped me solve a problem I've been trying to solve for like a week now. This is great.
I told you, when in doubt, just call me.
I tell you. Wow, that was brilliant. Outstanding. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
No problem.
Well, that didn't even take 10 minutes. I don't know what to do with this. That was quick. Holy cow. I thought that was going to take the 10 minutes. I really did. That's all right.
Not with me. I'm quick
Well,
on my toes.
okay. I've got one more question to bring up, and this one's
Okay.
close to my
Mm-hmm.
heart. I have personally, dating back to long before I discovered the law of attraction, I
Uh-huh.
have a history of trying a lot of projects, trying new businesses and so forth. A few of which that
Mm-hmm.
have worked out, a lot of them have not. And because of the ones that didn't work out, I
Mm-hmm.
have a long-standing, built up in my mind belief that the next thing that I try will always fail, which of course is
Mm.
self-defeating.
Yeah.
Know it's self-defeating, and I've been working really
Mm-hmm.
hard on turning that one around, but only with some success. So I'm going to let you be my life coach for a moment and
Okay.
advise me. What's the best way for me to turn that thought process around? How can I stop myself and get myself onto a track of believing that, this next thing that I'm going to try is actually going to work? Because I'll
Okay.
tell you, there's a little piece of me that wonders if I didn't get sick as a way of postponing having to do this little market test.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I couldn't face up to doing the market test and getting a bad result out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the worst possible place to be in because all you're going to do in that place is just
Just
continue to
create
reproduce.
negative stuff. Yeah.
Oh, geez, I don't need that. So how do I get out of that one, Coach Alex?
Okay. Well, I think the first thing you need to do is ask yourself who in your life told you that you weren't good enough
Oh,
at
geez.
one point. Because that's what you're playing in your head as you're thinking, well, I should do this new project. I don't know if it's gonna work out. Why? Because I'm not good enough.
Hmm, this is true.
Hmm.
Yeah, and probably everybody who's close to me in my life at one time or another said something like that.
Hmm.
Um,
You
not
got a
that they,
broken record in your head that you gotta get out.
yeah.
You gotta
Oh, there's
take
no
it out
doubt
of the
about that.
jukebox, man.
Yeah, yeah. Smash it on the floor,
Hmm.
which is a sad
Yep.
thing to do with an old style record, but sometimes you just have to break records. That's all.
Yeah. Some of the younger people might not know what we're talking about, but that's okay.
That's true. Before there was vinyl, there were these really rigid records that if you dropped
Yeah.
them on the floor, it would smash into a million pieces. And what's a record? Oh, a record is actually a thing with a large groove, and it's kind of like a very, very large compact disc, but it didn't have video, and it didn't use light.
Yeah.
And the way you played it was you put what they called a needle, like a sewing
Yep.
needle, in the groove, and then the
Yep.
groove made all these scratchy sounds that you played through the loudspeaker system. That's how you heard the sounds. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what we're talking about. If you take that disc out and you drop it on the ground, well, I think we did that
It's
part.
over. It's over.
It's over.
It's
Yes.
like scratching your CD. It's a wrap.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Scratching the CD. That I mean, that almost doesn't seem to measure up. That's like this little tiny
No,
scratch.
it's not as devastating because you can still play it, but it's like there's this one part of the song that just won't play.
Just doesn't play right.
Yeah.
Whereas if you scratch the old style record, it would go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So notice how I did a nice job of getting away from my problem. I just like zoomed
Hmm.
right away from it. It was really good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I probably need to spend a little more time looking at that. At,
Yeah.
not just the fact that virtually everybody I know, because that's normal. I mean, at one time or another, anybody who cares about you at some point is going to say, "Oh, don't do that. That's not going to work," or something like that. Just not because they're malicious. It's just that's going to happen. But that
That's
doesn't mean
me.
that doesn't mean that's their normal pattern. I mean,
Hmm.
Louise probably said something like that at some point, but most of the time she's really supportive.
Hmm.
It just
Hmm.
means that my mind is in some subconscious way connecting back to that one time when she said it.
Yep.
Like it's not
That's
going
what
to
I'm.
work out.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be part of the answer for me then. Also, deliberately trying to remember all the times when people in my life told me, go for it, or, that's going to work, or give it a shot,
Yeah.
or do
Yeah.
it.
You need to focus on that.
Yeah, that's the
Hmm.
secret right there. Good. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I needed.
You're welcome.
That's a good way to end up the show. That's a nice
It
comment.
is.
I like it. So thank you for that, Coach
We
Alex.
always end on a high.
We try to. We do. Yes, and it usually works. Want to remind people, I haven't given this message out in a while, but if you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. The instructions are on the homepage, loatoday.net. Just click the icon for your device and it'll just walk you through it. And then share the fact that you're a subscriber once you listen to episodes. You're listening to this episode, so share it on social media and say that you've been enjoying it. And that's how we keep spreading the word about your daily dose of happy. And we thank all of our regular listeners who do exactly that kind of thing. And I thank my co-host Alyx, who does the show now with me 3 times a week, and I
Three
love that.
times a week.
3 times a week, yeah. You are the most prolific coach, or not? Well, coach. You're a coach today, actually, but you're also a co-host. You're the prolific co-host on the show right now. You actually have tied what was Cindy's former record, and you're now the leader out there. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. And I'll be talking to you next on Friday
Friday.
morning. Friday
Yep.
morning. So let's go with Tom Wells. Please tune in
Yep.
for that and join us as well next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.